So hello everyone and welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Good afternoon. Hi.
Hi, this is Budgeting 101. So we do want everybody to mute because right now we are recording. As soon as we begin, we are going to ask, this is going to be a very interactive workshop today. I do want you to feel free to either raise your hand so Monica can unmute you, or unmute yourselves and ask a question if that's something that you want to do. There are going to be sections where I do ask some questions and I would like some responses because I want you to feel that you are part of this workshop and it becomes more engaging for you as well. I think that if we are talking to each other as well and not just listening, we're able to pick up more information and learn a lot more. Budgeting is a very emotional subject. And so we want to talk about that and be very aware of how that affects everyone in different ways. So let's begin by going over what you're going to be learning today. So today we're going to be talking about what a budget is and what a budget isn't, why it's important to budget. And then we're going to talk about different types of budgeting methods. There are so many different types out there, but we want you to start to look at what works for you. And then we're going to move into first steps and what you need to do to start a budget or a spending plan. I don't usually call them budgets. Those of you that have worked with me know that I call them spending plans because it's a plan that you create on how you're going to spend your money. And not only spend your money, but save your money. So that is the most important part of this whole thing, understanding how much is coming in, how much needs to go out, and if there's anything left over for you to save for those special things that you need to purchase. Okay, special things to purchase can be anything from saving for a security deposit for a move, to saving for your home, for a car, for an emergency. There are different types of goals that you set for yourself when it comes to budgeting. So welcome to Budgeting 101. What is the first thing that comes to mind when you hear the words money, credit score, budget, credit? So any takers out there, what's the first thing that comes to mind when you hear those words? Anyone? Well, let me say that for some people, money can be stressful. It can be fear. It can be guilt. It can be envy. It can be power. I mean, the fear of seeing what your credit score looks like. When you get that first credit card and you have a credit limit on there and you look at it and you say, I was approved, you're very, very happy. But then you start spending it and you have to pay back that money and then you start to get stressed and you start to get worried. Budgeting is something that in most people's minds, it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of effort. So sometimes we just keep putting it off and putting it off. We know we have to do it and we know it's in our best interest, but just the thought of the work it's going to take us to do it makes us put it in the back burner over and over again. Money also brings shame. I mean, some of us, feel guilty because we go out with a friend and spend money we didn't have. And why do we do that? There's different reasons for that. Do we do it because we want to look good in front of our friends? Because we feel we deserve this one time out? Because we're feeling sad and we just need some other people around us? There are everything that revolves around finance and budgets and money has an emotional connection. And as we start to talk about this, and you start to realize what those emotional connections mean to you, you start to be able to understand how it is that you're spending, what your personalities in spending are, and how to start to recognize those and move forward to a place of more stability. So what is a budget? A budget is a spending plan, and it's based on how much income comes in and how much income or expenses you have. So there's only three things that you could do when you create a budget. You either need to increase your income, you need to reduce your expenses, or you have to do both. That's the only way that you can adjust or resolve a budget deficit is by doing any one of those three things. Again, it's increase your income, decrease your expenses, or do a little of both. So when we start to talk about budgeting, when we start to talk about spending plans, we are going to talk about what it is that your income is like, how much is coming out of your home, and where you need to be looking at reducing some of your expenses. I never tell anyone where they need to reduce. That is something that is specifically left up to you because you know what's best for you and your house. So Monica, can you please
Yes,
put everybody on mute,
yes,
please?
yes.
Thank you. So you know what's the best way for you to save money or to reduce expenses. For example, I have a client that was spending almost $200 a month on cable. And when I asked her, wow, that's a little high, is what I asked. She said, don't ask me to reduce that because that's how I keep my 8 kids under control so that I can work. I work from home. I turn on, they're able to watch anything on the TV, and that's my babysitter. And it's less expensive than me paying for a babysitter. So that's an example of how you spend your money is entirely up to you because you have a reason why you do certain things. But see, if you're going to spend $200 on cable and your budget doesn't allow it, then you need to look at ways to increase your income or other ways to reduce or open up ready cash so that you can continue to pay for the cable. What budgeting isn't, and this is very, very important, budgeting isn't about depriving yourself. It's not about the money. It's not about taking control of your money. It's not about letting money control you. It's about figuring out what's the best way for you to live the way you want to live and still not go over your monthly income. That's the most important part of this whole thing, understanding how much income comes in. I, at this point, am not surprised when I ask somebody how much income comes into your house. The most common response is, it varies. My income varies. So here's the thing, your income may vary, but you already know that every month you've got a certain amount of income coming in. And if it's, I would take the minimum amount of money that you got coming in every month and budget from there. Anything extra coming in should go into some kind or into your account where you're just an emergency fund. And so that's very, very important. So for example, I don't think I can do, let me see if I can do. One of the things that we want to be able to do is, for example, when I talk to people, is I talk about the circle. Your circle is your monthly income. Okay? Half of your income should be for your housing and for your utilities. So for example, rent, utilities, and your cell phone. So in this example, let's say you're making $2,000 a month, right? Excuse my writing. That means you have $1,000 in here, right? And then you got $500 in this section, which is 1/4 of your income. And then you've got 1/8 here and 1/8 here. Your income should be looked at as a monthly amount coming into your household. Not a weekly amount, not a bi-weekly amount, none of that. How much income comes into your household every month? Because you have to take the whole amount and divide it up into all of your different categories. So if your rent is $700, right, and you're paying $200 for your cell phone, that means you only have $100 for your utilities. That's SDG&E, that's your water, that's your anything that's utilities, water, sewage, and SDG&E. Now, if you're spending more than this in this section, then you're over your spending ability and you have to increase your income. Okay? $500 is what you got in your household expenses. Household expenses are your cable, your car payment, gasoline, laundry, food, toiletries, credit card bills, all of that. So hopefully in some cases you get food stamps. You need to consider that you're going to spend about $100 a month per household member. So if there's four people in your household, you're spending about $400 a month in food. If you're getting $200 of food stamps, that means that you need to make up the difference of $200 from the $500 amount that you have here. So here's where the thing gets tricky. If in this section here, you're spending $1,000, and this is 1/4 of your income, then the reality of what you need is $4,000. I'm sorry, 2,000. No. 1,000 times 4, $4,000. This is where most people have an issue because in here, before they look at their spending plan, they go out and buy a car or they have credit card debt that almost comes to the $400 or $500, which doesn't leave them any money for all the rest of the utilities and all the rest of the household expenses like food and gasoline and insurance and all of that. What you do is you take it from this section here, and this section here is your emergency fund. This is your what if fund and your savings fund. Okay, your what if and your fund. So this is fun. Okay. What does that mean? You need to account for the fact that you are going to go out to dinner. You're going to go out to the movies. You're going to go to McDonald's. You're going to go out and have a drink with friends. And if you don't have that income, you're going to use your credit cards, or you're going to take it from your rent, or you're going to take it from another place. The emergency fund or the what if fund is, what if I get a flat tire? What if one of my children gets sick and I need to take them to the doctor? What if I need to pay for a visit for a specialty procedure? What if I get an increase in my insurance? These are what you need to account for, and this is why it's important for you to set up some type of a spending plan. I hope that this helps a little. So if there's any questions up to now, We can go ahead and go through that now while I'm clearing this. Monica, is there anything out there yet?
No questions yet. Feel free to write them down in the chat box.
Alrighty. So I'm just going to go ahead and let's see, erase. So let me, there we go. So we're going to go ahead and close out the annotations, and then we're going to go into the next one. So why budgeting matters. We just talked a little bit about budgeting and why it matters, but budgeting benefits everyone, not just those who are struggling financially. It helps you with different types of situations. It encourages you to stay within your means and put your money to work in the best way possible. In the example we showed earlier, it gives you an example of how you can get a clear picture of what's happening with your finances. Think of budgeting as a stepping stone to your financial goals, and it can help you. It can help you in many, many ways, especially become more stabilized with your income. It's like if you, this is the way I would give you an analogy. If you didn't have a gas gauge on your car, so you didn't know how much gas was in your car, and you just got in it and moved and went, and you're kind of guessing how much is left over, do I have enough? I can guarantee you that more than a couple of times you're going to get stuck without no gas because you don't know how much is in there. This is the same concept with money and budgeting. Understanding how much money you still have, how much money you can spend, and how far you can get with that money that you have. Okay? Budget and understanding your relationship with the money. It's also about saving enough for the future. It's getting out of debt and staying out of debt. And it's relieving the stress. You don't know how many times I look at a credit report and I see, oh, they had a bankruptcy 4 years ago. Oh, but I see that they have 8 credit cards again and they're all up to the max, and they haven't made payments on 4 of them, and they've got late payments on the others. What that tells me is that you continue to live way above your means and you're not budgeting. So you continue to fall into the same trap over and over again. So until you understand where it is that your money is going and that you are spending money that you can't pay back, then we got to figure out, why is that happening? Why is it that you are spending on this or that when you don't have the funding for it? And that ties back into the relationship with money and understanding the money concept where it comes to emotions. Okay? Emotions, and by this I mean a lot of us were brought up with parents that probably didn't have a lot of financial understanding either. So usually we grew up with very little, not enough, or parents just didn't spend the money and they held on to it. And so you were deprived of things that you wanted, or you felt embarrassed or shamed because other kids had something you didn't have and you were made fun of. So as you grew up, your emotions are tied to the fact, well, I'm not going to be in that place now because now I have control of this money. And the reality is that you don't have control over the money. You have the emotions from your youth, from growing up, have control over you. And they cause you, or they move you to purchase a pair of shoes that are going to cost you $400 or $500 when you can only afford to buy a pair that's for $40 or $50. Because you want to show everyone that you're in a good place financially. The gold, the stuff. I talk a lot about us lower income individuals buying stuff. We don't buy or invest into different things, but we buy the newest iPhone. We buy the Coach bag, $700 or $800 for a bag that we can't use because we're afraid to use it because we're going to mess it up because it costs us too much money. But we don't have enough money to pay the utility bill, or we don't have enough money to pay for our registration because we bought this bag, because it looks good, and because my friends have it. So then comes the shame. The shame comes because you feel guilty that you spend money you didn't have. And now what am I going to do? So once you start to recognize that money is not all about finances, it's about emotion, then you start to realize, wait, do I really need to do that? Do I really need to show these people that I have money when I need to take care of my family, or I need to take care of these bills? It's really important. You know, I will tell you that at my age, I'm already 60 almost, 60, I just turned 59, so I'll be 60. I just purchased my first brand new car out of the lot a year ago. I had never purchased a brand new car because I never felt I had enough income, ready cash left over to purchase one. Not only that, I didn't think it was necessary for me to have a new car when I could purchase used cars that were very good, that got me around, and I didn't have a car payment. I did not want to have a car payment because I wanted to use that additional income for other things. If if everyone else had a brand new car and not me, that's all right. It wasn't a problem for me. But see, a brand new car is just as good as a used car if you keep up that used car. And by that, I mean, do you go and get it serviced every 3 months? Do you check the oil? Do you make sure that everything is, do you get it diagnostically checked? Do you make sure the brakes are good? If you have a good car and you maintain it, you will have a good car for a very long time without having to consistently be getting brand new cars every 2 or 3 years. The car that I had, which was a 2007 Scion, was then gifted to my grandson, who now has it. So it's a 10, 13-year-old car, and it's still running like a brand new car. And that car cost us $6,000 when we bought it. So all I'm saying is that sometimes it's more important for you to look at your finances and say, okay, I'm going to get me a very nice, good car that I can afford, versus I'm going to get me a brand new car that is not probably going to be as good, but I can't afford. Because remember that once you get a brand new car, now you got to service it as a brand new car. That means taking it to the dealership. That means making sure that the tires are checked. That means checking that the insurance may go up. The cost of the tires may be more expensive. The oil changes may be more expensive. All of these are things that you need to look at when you start to look at brand new, okay? And that comes back and ties back into emotional spending. For example, Christmas. There are many, many times when I'll have somebody say, I didn't pay my rent because I had to buy Christmas presents. Christmas presents are something that you plan for over the year. And you buy little by little so that when it comes time for Christmas, you already have it. Or you save over the 12-month period, you're saving a little bit at a time so that when, the Black Thursday, Friday comes over, or whatever you're going to do, you can go out and you have the money to buy the Christmas presents. But not take it out of your rent money and then try to figure out how you're going to pay your rent. See, these are the types of what I call emotional spending that we need to look at, analyze within ourselves, and try to recognize so that we move past that and start moving towards stability. The problem isn't money, like I was saying. The problem is how we approach money, how we think about money, and how we handle money, which is all the truisms that I was just talking about earlier. We are all ingrained with all types of different truisms. Family, we learn about money from our family. And I don't know about you all, but I have a lot of truisms, a lot of quotes that my parents would give me that to this day, even though I understand that they're not true, in my mind, they are still reality. A good example is my purse. My mom always told me that I should never put my purse on the floor because if I put it on the floor, the money would go away. It would, it would leave. To this day, I know that's not true, but I do not put my purse ever on the floor. This is a truism, and this is an example of how strong our belief systems and our value systems are ingrained as we're growing up and our parents are giving us all of this type of information. So people who constantly think negatively about money tend to be plagued by money problems their whole life. And people who believe that money is something within their control are the ones who become more successful and ultimately increase their money. What this means in total is if you are there's two types of people, the ones that believe that things happen to them and the ones that believe that they have control of how things turn out. Okay? So if you're one of those people that believe, why does this always happen to me? Why do people always do this to me? Why is this always something that's going on to me? You're saying that you have no control over your life and what's going on in your life. But you need to believe and change the way you think to say, I have this control. If I don't spend the way I'm spending, then I should be able to increase the amount of money I put into my savings. If I don't listen to, for example, I just had a cousin call me and say, and he's a little bit older than me, my work is starting to reduce its hours. And I don't know how I'm going to pay my rent. Can I come live with you for 4 to 6 months until I get better? My money problems get better. And my question to him was, where's your savings? Where's your money? What have you been doing? Because you're about to retire. And what would happen if you all of a sudden didn't have this job? You know, you're paying $775 in rent where you live. How is coming to live with me for 4 or 5 months or 6 months going to make it better for you later on when you haven't created a plan? And this is not something that happens to just younger individuals, youth. It happens to a lot of people because you were not given that type of information when you were going to school or through your family and their ability to provide you with that type of information. These type of workshops and courses are the ones that will provide you with this type of information and help you begin to understand how money works. For those people who instead of complaining about their lack of money, educate themselves about money, things will be better. Financial intelligence is the basis of growing wealth. And money should not consume you. It should strive for you to get a healthy relationship with money. And by that, I mean, do I really need to buy that? Do I really need to go there? Do I really need to do that? This is where we talk about the wants versus the needs. For example, and this is an example that's used a lot. If you drink Starbucks every day, and a Starbucks, the large, the grande, I think it's called, costs you $10, and you buy it 365 times out of the year, you're talking about $3,650 that you could save by just purchasing a cup that's going to cost you a Starbucks cup. You can buy a Starbucks cup that costs you $10 or $20. You can buy a Starbucks coffee that costs you $5 at the store, and you can make your own Starbucks coffee at home. And you'd probably save yourself $3,000 a year that you could put into a bank account. And nobody would know that you didn't buy the Starbucks from from the store. I mean, from the Starbucks store. It's still Starbucks, but it's not, they didn't make it for you. You made it. So here is what I want to ask everyone. And please, I'd like to hear some responses. What did you learn about money as you were growing up? Who taught you about money? And what was your first memory about money? Okay. So I'm going to go first and I'm going to explain the way it worked with my house. My dad was the money person. My mom was not. So he always taught me, never spend more than you make. always put away at least 1/4 of your income, and always try to to look at something if you need it or don't. My mom was always the person that spent everything she had, and then she had to figure out what to do later. So when they divorced when we were younger, I mean, when we were with my dad, we were okay, but when we were with my mom, that meant that she would buy a stack of potatoes, a stack of beans, a stack of rice, and a stack of flour. At the end of the year, at the end of the month, all we were eating were potatoes and eggs and beans and rice. Those are my first memories about money. And so I told myself, I'm never going to do that. I'm never going to do this to my family. I'm never going to do this to my kids. So I took what my dad explained to me, and that's what I ran with. I could have chosen to go with what my mom taught me and then be in a different place altogether. But does anyone want to give me an example of what they learned about money? Anyone, Monica? No?
I will.
Okay.
I pretty much had the same situation, but sometimes we didn't even have food. We would like search in the cabinets and we would be eating ramen or counting pennies to go buy ramen. And I would take care of my little brother, or we would just be eating like cinnamon toast. We'd go buy a loaf of bread and we would toast it. Um, I have, and my dad was the complete opposite because he was in the Air Force. And so he was very about routine and about, he had his money like exactly where it needed to be. But I wasn't raised by him because they divorced. So I didn't really get that from him because they divorced when I think I was 9.
Yes.
And so that's what I was taught.
So your first memories about money is also not having, and that there wasn't that there was a need for money, and so you're either going to go one way or the other. You're either going to be a big saver or you're going to be a big spender. It
Yeah.
usually goes one way or the other because of that kind of experience when we're growing up. I ended
Correct.
up in the beginning, I was a big spender, and then I kept getting myself into trouble, and then I learned my lesson. And so I turned it to I'm at the other end now where am very careful how I spend my money, and I project my money out 6 or 8 months.
Wow. Also, we would have our electricity like turned off for our gas. I mean, we really like would struggle a lot, like monthly.
Yeah, I remember one time when I saw my mom. She would send the electricity bill, but she would buy a lot of $1 money orders. Back then there was money orders, and she would send them out. She wouldn't send them. She would give those to us so we'd spend them. But then she would take the little receipts, and then when they said that she hadn't paid the utility, she would show them one of those receipts that was just for $1, saying, "I already paid you. It got lost. Let me go ahead and claim the money order, and then I'll send you a new payment." So she was always trying to figure out ways to manage money, not managing by not managing. And I always thought, wow, that's a lot of stress to be worried about how you're going to do that all the time. So yeah, those are kind of what we talk about as we grow up. I mean, some people don't have very good memories about growing up, especially if there was sickness, or you grew up with very little money. But that again comes back to the fact that our parents worked all of their lives, and yet they didn't save money. Like my cousin, he was a sheriff for a long time, a CHP, I'm sorry. And now he's something in the government, and he doesn't have money in case he reduces his hours. I don't understand that. Why haven't we been looking at, in his case, why haven't we been looking at uh, what's going to happen when I retire? What's going to happen when, if I don't have any income? Do I have 6 months of savings put away? Where's my 401k? Where's my IRAs? All of these things are things that we all should be looking at. Not only that, if you're a single parent and you have no contingency plans for your children in case something were to happen to you, that's very, very important for you to look at as well. Okay? Who would look after your children? Who would look after you? Or how would you, do you have money if you can't go to work for 2 or 3 or 4 months? It's important for you to start, for all of us to be looking at more than just here and now. Most of us live that way. We live in the now, and we don't do what we call foresight, look further ahead. What if this were to happen? What if that were to happen? And I know that in some cases there's not a lot of income, but then how do we make that income a reality? What do we need to do to increase our income so that we do have more income than expenses?
Excuse me, Juanita.
Yes.
How do you recommend to start savings? I mean, do you recommend like $20 per paycheck? I mean, if you're on a limited income, or what are you said a fourth.
1/4
But
is a good amount, but in some cases, it all depends on you. How do you feel? I had, you, Marie, you did probably one of our match savings programs back in the day. And I know that in some cases, people were saving like $5 a month. And we matched it back then with, I think it was whatever they matched, whatever they put away. And they managed to save $200 or $300. But here's the thing. Even if you're saving $5 a month, at the end of a year, how much money do you have there, And now you've created a habit a habit of saving. And so now, let me see if I can do 10. Let me see if I could do 20. When you increase, for example, when you get a raise at work, you've been living on the normal income that you've had all this time, and now you got an increase. Why not take that increase and put it into a savings account? Just a thought. So let's move on. This is food for thought from my friend Will Smith. Too many people spend money they have not earned to buy things they do not want, to impress people they do not like. How true is that? A lot of people, not most, but a lot of people will spend money they do not have because they want to impress people. And why? I don't know. So there's different types.
I have I have experienced it. Sometimes it's not about the impressing somebody, or sometimes you're stuck with the situation that you have no other choice but to pay for somebody else. I mean, my culture sometimes, when you invite someone, let's say, for example, for a dinner, and you get stuck to pay for them because, you know what I'm talking? It's culture. Yes. And sometimes if anybody from Middle Eastern, they might know, hey, let me pay for you. And then you end up paying for everybody else instead of and there are a lot of people, I'm talking about my personal experience where people are just looking at you to pay for them,
Yes.
And you end up paying for everybody else out of what would you do at that situation?
I will tell you that it happened to me. We went to Texas on a visit, and a friend started inviting everybody. Let's go to dinner. And he started inviting everybody. And in our culture, if you invite somebody, that means you're going to pay, right?
Yeah.
And so he invited all of these people, and my husband's like, "Do you how much money is on the credit card?" I go, "Enough." He goes, "Okay," because I get a feeling we're going to get stuck with this. And sure enough, when the bill came, he said, "Can you divide the bills up and give everybody their own bill?" And now here's some people didn't bring their bank, they didn't bring their wallets, because he said, "I'm inviting you." When you say I'm inviting you, that means I'm going to pay, right? And
Yeah.
so we ended up paying almost $500 or $600 that time. But see, the next time we went and he said, I'm inviting you, we said, we can't go. I'm
Mhm.
sorry, we have other plans, we can't go. It may happen to you once, but it shouldn't happen to you 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times.
Well,
There's
it happened to me a couple of times, so I had to kind of, to be honest, I end up my relationship with a friend that I had. I'm like, you know what? That's, you know.
Yes, yes, and that's probably what you needed to do at that time. And then you may revisit the friend and say, look, I understand that you were inviting or that I invited, but at this point, you know that I have low income just like you. And so every once in a while, it'd be nice if you also paid, not just me, right?
Oh. Mm-hmm.
And sometimes if that's going to hurt the relationship, then how true was that relationship? How good was that relationship to begin with? I honestly had to move away from LA, which is where I'm from, because my family tended, like I said earlier, to ask all the time for money. They think that because we manage our money better, we have the ability to give everybody give our money away. And that's not the way it should be, right? If you're able to manage your money better, that just means that you're being more thriftful with your money and you're trying to put away money where you need to so that everybody's able to, so that we're able to live better when we no longer have the same income coming in. That's our plan, so um, always be aware that you want to start to look at how to save for you, for your future. Because there's going to be a point when you no longer can work, when you no longer are going to bring in income, and the only income you have is going to be Social Security. And Social Security, you need to check to see how much income is that going to be. If you're only going to get $700 or $800 a month from Social Security, what other venues of income are you bringing in? So you need to start to, all of these are things that we as a culture need to start to turn and look at so that we become more financially stable along the way. So here are some types of budgeting ways. We talked about the budget by checking, by your paycheck, and that means taking your check looking at it for the next 2 or 3 months, look at your paychecks. How much money do you get after taxes? Divide it up every month. Every month, I end up with so much after taxes. And let's say that you say it varies. Take all 6 of those paycheck stubs and then divide it into 3. That's 3 months, right? If you get paid twice a month. That's what you bring in every month. So let's say you bring in $1,600, right? Now you need to figure out, okay, half of that income, like we talked about, is for my rent, my utilities, and my cell phone. If your utilities are too high, what programs do you qualify for so that you could bring that bill down? What income what can you do with your cell phone? Is there a way that you can probably get a reduced rate? Is there a way you can get probably a lower uh, service? Look at what's out there in terms of reducing your income. For example, where we work, I would be paying maybe $600 or $700 a month for my utilities. For my medical insurance. Where my husband works, for the same medical insurance, he pays $150. So what I did was I switched from my medical insurance at work to his medical insurance at his work, and we're saving ourselves $500 a month. Sometimes it's a matter of just looking to see where all your expenses are. Look at what your companies, if you are working, most of your companies will have discounts for different types of things. They'll have discounts on cell phones. For example, he works for Sharp Chula Vista. They offer 25% off on Verizon bills and on Sprint, I believe. So they're able to get a discount. So we pay less for that because he showed his badge to give us a discount. With me, where I work, I'm able to get a discount for my car insurance. So I only pay like $96 for full coverage. But you need to check and look to see what all those things are, what you can afford, what you can't afford, and where you can get discounts. Okay? That's going to help you reduce a lot of the income, a lot of the expenses that you have every month. Are you looking at coupons? Are you looking at your route? How is your route when you go buy stuff? Do you go from one place to another and spend too much gas when you can go and just uh, set your route so that you go around and come back and spend less gas? You know, there's all types of different things. The envelope system. What the envelope system does is for those people that work on cash and not with credit cards and stuff, what you're going to do is every month you're going to break down, like I said, all of your income. And you're going to say, okay, my rent is $600. I make $1,800. So I get paid twice a month. That means I'm going to put away $300 from every one of my checks into this envelope until I have the money for my rent. What about your car payment? You pay another $300, so you put another $150 into that envelope and say car. Food, you say you spend about $200 for your food. So let's say you put away $100 every time, but let's say that at the end of the month, you need to spend more on food. What is that telling you? That you probably need to budget more for food, right? Because you're not budgeting enough. That's how the envelope system works. And then the zero base gives you where you got all of your income comes in, and then you zero out at the end of the month. So all of these are my bills. This is what's left over, and it goes into my savings and my what if funds, okay? But budgeting varies from person to person. Everybody has a different way of budgeting, of spending plans, of creating their own methods of tracking their money. Some people have notepads. Some people prefer online services. There's numerous online services for you that you can use. You also can do goals to pick the method that best works for you. And by that, I mean, let me try it this way. Okay, this didn't work. Well, let me try this other one. Your banks have, if you bank and you do online banking, most of your banks will have different types of services for you on there. They'll have budgeting tools. They'll have all kinds of tools for savings. They'll have all kinds of different things for you to look at. Okay?
Juanita,
Yes?
I was just wondering, so at my job, they have a 401k and a TSP, and I forgot, they have like Roth IRA, and I forgot what the other one is, but they match 5%. Would that be considered part of your savings? Or
Yes.
would you, okay, or would you
Need
recommend?
to be saving. Yes, I would
I
recommend.
do.
Yes.
Do you recommend additional saving on top of that?
At least the 5% so that you're matching whatever they're matching, because what they're matching is free money. So remember,
Right,
if you give 5%, they give 5%. And then here's the
I
other
do
thing.
10.
10. Perfect. And what happens is also that they take this money before they tax you. So you get taxed for less of your paycheck. And at the end of the year, if you're putting away money into these accounts, they are tax write-offs for that. And you want to talk to your tax person about that as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So where do you begin? How much income is coming in? And we've talked about this and how much money is going out. So I showed you an example of what you wanted to do with that. And so we're not going to do that again, but we want to talk about fixed and variable expenses. Rent, insurance, car payments, cell phone, these are all fixed expenses. These are expenses that don't vary. They're always the same every single month. So you know that these, for example, my car payment, my insurance, and my mortgage are always going to be the same every single month. But my utility bill, gas for my car, food may be different depending on if I get specials or not, okay? begin a budget guideline and look at what the costs are in your home. Where do you spend money? Remember we talked about your 1/4, which is this little section here. This is the money that we're talking about. This is the money about clothing. You know your do you have, for example, do you have a medical condition where you have to buy extra medication? If you do, are you budgeting for it? If you don't have the money for it, have you looked into different resources out there to help you pay for them? You know, do you need special glasses? Do you need special socks? These are things that you need to look at and put into your budget. Are you a person that smokes? Are you budgeting that into your budget? Are you a person that drinks? Are you putting that into your budget? You know, now, if you're spending more on your drinking than you have money for, then now you have to look at what's going on. But I never ask anyone what or why they budget for these things. Everybody, as I said earlier, has their own reason why they do things. Okay? But basics are housing, food, transportation, and now your devices like your internet and your cell phone, because everything has gone more, is more media based and more media heavy than before. Where is your money going? I invite you to track your expenses. For 1 full month, take all the receipts and put them into this little envelope and then divide them up and see where everything's going. Some of you have heard my story about when we bought our home. I told my husband, please, please, please stop spending so much money. Our old home was across the street from a 7-Eleven. And my husband kept saying, I don't spend a lot of money. What are you talking about? So he would come home every day. He would go to a 7-Eleven to talk to his friends. He'd come home. He'd throw all these receipts on the table. I would take all those little receipts, and I'm talking about coffee, donuts, a burrito, you know, whatever he would buy while he was there chit-chatting. $683 a month he was spending on those chit-chat moments at 7-Eleven. So what we did was we gave him a $50 a week budget. That's $200 for his 7-Eleven trips, and we saved the $483. And that helped us reach our goal to purchase our home. In 10 months, we had $5,000. Just from that reduction. That's not talking about other reductions like the change in the utility, in the insurance and other things. You'll be surprised how much money is going out of your house without you realizing it. For example, if you have a bank account and you've agreed to pay for this 30-day free prescription or free subscription to something, if you got income coming in, you haven't checked to see, but you may be getting money taken out of your bank account every month without you even realizing it because you never stopped that subscription. And you'll be amazed at how much money is actually coming out of your bank account without you realizing it. So that may be something you want to look at. Okay, pay off. Let's say that you want to create a budget to identify a goal. What goals do you have? Do you want to pay off credit cards? Do you want to start an emergency fund? Do you want to buy a car? Or are you saving to buy a house? These are some goals that we talk about when we talk about budgeting. Okay, and I'm running out of time, so I'm trying to get through these as fast as I can. So any questions?
Yes, Juanita. You have actually Priscilla Robles, wants Winco and located where?
I didn't talk about Winco. I think that's somebody else put it on their
On the chat box?
Yeah, Winco food is really good. So I don't know what Winco good is, what Winco is.
Oh, I'm seeing it says, Priscilla Robles said, yes, Tijuana mentioned it. The other question you have from Maria G. Torres, to everyone, she pays her insurance every 6 months, so that way she pays less.
Yes.
Which is a little bit better than when you do month by month. It's a better pay.
That is true.
True.
So yes, you can go ahead and pay. Look at the different ways and options that you have for paying off debt. For example, when you purchase your home, and Sylvia can attest to this as well, it's better and it's more inexpensive if you add your taxes and your insurance to your home purchase payment. That way, you pay it all at
Yes,
once. And it's
I
less
agree with that,
expensive.
Juanita, because I know a lot of my friends get a bill in December to pay their taxes. And sometimes it's when they have more expenses coming in and they have to pay the half amount at least not to have any fines. And we
Right.
have another question, Juanita, from Tisha Howard. Is there
Yes.
an account we can get to hold the money for a specific amount of time before we are allowed to withdraw it?
There are different accounts. You have, for example, a money market account. You have a CD. There's different types. There's also, I use a financial counselor, a financial advisor for me. They're helping me with my retirement funding to make sure that I have enough when I retire. And I set up an account with them because I'm somebody who, if I have it in my savings account, I'm going to spend it. But if it goes, they take it out of my account every month and it goes into a savings account with them. That's a money market account that they invest later on into. Uh, but that money, if I ever need it, all I got to do is ask her for it. But the embarrassment, like I talked about money earlier and how it could be shameful in some cases, I'm going to be embarrassed to talk to my financial counselor, being a financial counselor myself, and saying, hey, can you give me some of the money that I have in that account? So
Yeah.
that's my way of saving. I also wanted to show you what I talked about earlier about, this is Bank of America. If you can see it online, and it says Better Money Habits, this is on their website. And you can see they talk about credit reports, debt. They also talk about savings. They give you budgeting tips, emergency savings, strategies, home ownership, and all of that. They also give you auto loans, college, before college, near college, payback, personal banking, taxes and income. But these are just, all banks have this, not just Bank of America.
Right.
What I'm trying to explain is that if you are banking, it's really important for you to get to know your banking, uh, the bank you work with and what they have to offer you. Auto loan tips, buying tips.
Yeah. Juanita, I have a question to Tisha. Tisha saying she has Bank of America and she wants to know where can she find this? What you just showed on the web online?
Yeah, what you're gonna do is you're gonna go on if you do online banking with them, then you're gonna go to where it says resources, and under resources, you're gonna click on there and it's gonna have all banking and budgeting and all of that stuff.
And I also have Priscilla Robles also saying you can save a lot when you buy in bulk, you save money and you just separate and freeze in Ziplocs.
Correct.
And I think I do that a lot too, because I found it a lot of more savings when you buy in bulk. So sometimes I'll go, even though we're only two, I'll get maybe 6 steaks, but I get a much lower price and I just save it 3 different Ziplocs and I have 3 different meals for a better price. So yeah, that's true. Buying in bulk does give you many times better price. The only thing is making sure that you have a place to store it. Because sometimes, like my sister, her freezer is really small. She can't do that. She tried it and she was trying to eat everything in 1 week. So it didn't work for her. But most of the time, it's really successful.
Yes, go on, Sylvia, go on.
I was going to say, you have Rebecca Chavez also. Do you know if Union Bank has this service?
All banks. All of the banks, Bank of America, Union, Wells, First Financial, which is Navy, Citi, all of them. You just have to go onto the resource section, and the resource section will have all of these different options for you, because they're in there to keep you from overdrafting your account, from learning how to increase your wealth. This is what they want to do. They want you to succeed, and therefore they provide you all of these resources on top of the resources that we offer as well.
Yes. No more questions, Juanita, for right now.
Perfect. So I hope that this was an informative workshop for all of you. I hope that if you have any further questions, feel free to give me or any one of your work readiness specialists a ring, either by phone or email. We do have a number of more workshops coming up. Sylvia, do you remember what those
Yes,
are?
the next one we have is actually on Thursday, and it's the Job Search Roller Coaster. It's going to be at 1 p.m. And again, it is going to be this coming Thursday, the 20th, and I'll be hosting it.
Okay, I have a question. This is Jacqueline Carr. Do you know by chance, are we getting emails to go to those on that day? Because I went to the Microsoft format that Juanita sent out, and it wouldn't let me connect to those Zoom applications through that. So I'm just trying to figure out, are we going to get like emails that day so that way we can log in?
If I'm not mistaken, Frances Flores, our receptionist, will send you, when you contact Frances Flores, and she'll give you the code to get in for those workshops. Because Microsoft is holding it, they're hosting their own, so we don't have the access like we do to the ones that we are able to book on our on San Diego Housing Commission. So they have a different website. So that's why I have to go to her.
And I did send out an email with all of the links. Each link is different for each workshop. And so,
but I tried to connect to one on Monday yesterday, and it wouldn't let me.
No, Monday we didn't have one on Monday for the computers. The computers, I think, are on. They're every Wednesday, I believe. Every Wednesday or every Thursday, something like that. They're not.
Yes.
Yeah. We didn't have one yesterday on computers.
Oh, okay.
So the links that I gave you this the the Power of One computer calendar. I'm sorry, and the calendar has the dates when the workshops will be.
Yeah, that's the one I clicked on. So there was one. It said the Leap for Confidence, but I wasn't able.
Oh no,
to...
Leap for Confidence is different. Leap for Confidence is something that I need to enroll you in. That's why if you look on the side of the calendars, it'll either say San Diego Housing Commission, or it'll say LEAP, or it'll say Jewish Family Services, or it'll say Microsoft. What that means is that if it says SDHC, that means we give you the link. If it has one of their names on it, that means that they give you the link.
Okay, yeah, because I'm enrolled into the Positive Parenting, so I have that tomorrow. I was just wondering.
Oh, great. Yeah. And just to let you know, we do have a Fundamentals of Word, but that's on August 26th. Will be next week, and it's 2 to 3. Oh, they're always at 2 o'clock, but that's the only other workshop we have for this month, and then we'll stop with the ones for September. The first day of September is going to be September 9th for Fundamentals of Excel.
That's the computers. Those are the computers.
Yes, for the Microsoft.
Yes, I do see those.
For the parenting, I sent out the email yesterday with the link for everyone to attend. So that one, you should see the link already there, and just click on it and you can get in.
Yes, yeah, and Julio also sent a follow-up as well.
Yes.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And
thank you so much for attending, everybody. Thank you, Juanita. You did an excellent job, like always.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.